The sentiment with reviewing the past year, I feel, especially when looking at memes, it's always negative for some reason. It's always something like, oh, 2018 has just kicked my ass, and there's like 2019 with a baseball bat who wants to beat you up next. But I don't think that's always the case. So it's the start of the year. Well, it's February, but it's still the start of the year, and I wanted to make a video about loads of things actually, but it'll feel a little bit weird if I make a video about whatever without making a review of the previous year, because that's such a thing to do. So as I said earlier, I always feel like the sentiment is about, oh, how 2018 or the previous year was bad. You know, you see these memes around the end of the year, around December. Since I can remember where memes were like a big thing on the internet, that's always the thing. I mean, we all have terrible years, or at least the majority of a year can be terrible for someone, and I've certainly experienced that. But you know, I don't think every year is terrible for everyone. So I'm just gonna talk about how 2018 went for me. 2018 was kind of tight. Yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of things happened. A lot of good things. They didn't just randomly happen. You know, sometimes when people say good things happen, you get the impression that like a big crate of gold or money just dropped out from a plane with a parachute and landed in their backyard. But it's not generally like that. I think most people try to do things and achieve things in life in general, and it happens to be during a time period in a year. So I think if it goes bad for you, whatever you try to achieve may not have worked out, and if it went well for you, whatever you tried to achieve probably worked, or at least some of the things you tried to achieve. So in my case, I did a bunch of things that worked out for me, I guess. I'm gonna be going through how 2018 went, but obviously not everything. I live in Ireland, so some events are gonna be related to what happened in Ireland, and then I also watch a lot of memes, and I'm on the internet a lot, and on YouTube, so there are gonna be a lot of memes that I personally like in here as well. So we'll start with January, of course, and if you've been following the trend on YouTube, or you watch YouTube a lot, or are watching anyone who's talking about YouTube drama, I think Logan Paul was the biggest story of January anyway, and he had quite a few hits during the year. There was the whole Suicide Forest thing. If you don't know, you'd easily find out the information. He was basically went to Japan, filmed a dead body, and there was a lot of outrage. It's not really something I want to go to, because this video really isn't about that. I'm just gonna review the year, but that was pretty big. On a personal note though, I actually went over to Paris in 2017 December, and I enjoyed the trip so much that I decided to go again in 2018. So while all that Logan Paul stuff was happening, I kind of didn't care, because I had already planned my trip. And I was also a little bit sick at that time as well, and I told the doctor I wanted to travel, and she was a little bit worried, but I had already paid for my ticket. I told her I would be extra careful, but more importantly, one of my favorite artists actually is Marina and the Diamonds, who is now just Marina. She had this album that I've been wanting to listen to for a long time, called Fruits. In December 2017, when I was on the plane ride, because you can't use the internet on the plane in most planes, I just downloaded the album and I listened to the whole thing. I absolutely loved the album. It was great. It's probably in my top 5 albums of all time. During the month of January 2018, I think I just kept playing that album on repeat every single day. I know it sounds crazy, but when I looked at my Spotify email for what you've been listening to at the end of the year, it just in 2018, it mainly featured Marina. Every playlist that Spotify makes for me now has at least 2 or 3 of her tracks. But the last thing of January was probably the Tide Pod. People just eating soap. I first saw a video about it ages ago and I didn't think much of it, but in January 2018 it became a big thing where people were eating soap. Yeah. February. February is one of those weird ones for me where I don't really care what happened, and to be honest with you, I can't actually remember much of what happened in February. All I remember is the KSI, who's a YouTuber, versus Joe Weller, who's another YouTuber. So they had a pretty big fight. I didn't really care about it that much. I only heard about it close to the fight at the end of January. Honestly, I didn't care that much about it because I was like, oh, a bunch of YouTubers boxing, and not that they didn't train or they didn't have any skill, but I don't know. What actually happened in that fight is it kind of gave KSI an opportunity, as he just got so much popularity. I mean, Joe Weller did as well, so they both had huge popularity at that time, but because KSI won the fight, he could use that international platform to make a really good move, which he did. He called out Logan Paul. He said, Jake Paul, Logan Paul.
Jake Paul, Logan Paul, any of the Pauls, I don't care.
Any of the Pauls. So that happened, and as far as putting yourself out there, I kind of have to say this was a really good move for KSI because he called them out so publicly that it would be hard for them to refuse. I mean, they could easily refuse it, but if you have an image of a big strong guy like Logan Paul does, you would get a lot more shit for refusing to fight someone than if you weren't seen as someone who was big and strong. So I think it was just that much harder for either of them to refuse, and that just spiraled down throughout the whole year. They dominated the year with their fight. For some people. In March, for me, I don't think I was paying too much attention to any memes too much, or any YouTube news, or just news around me, because I think at that time I was currently in the process of getting a new job, a better job than I currently had. So whenever I generally go for a new job, I tend to block everything out so I can focus on it. So the good news is I did get a new job in March, and that was tight. When it comes to changing jobs, my personal experience is I've worked in offices, with computers, where a lot of the communication is done through emails. So there's always this thing in every job I've been to since I finished college, where people send goodbye emails on the last day, and not everyone is always happy about leaving the job. Some people leave because they can't stand it anymore, because they go a little bit crazy because they want to get out of there. So those goodbye emails are always interesting. I feel like there's 3 main categories of goodbye emails. There's the no goodbye email at all, which means the person just walks out of there on the last day, doesn't say goodbye to anyone. It's like a big middle finger saying, I don't care about your existence at all, I'm out of here. Then there's the calling out your bosses. The second type is just ranting about the bad shit that happened. I think the funniest case I've seen is someone writing an email just calling out all their bosses, and as soon as they sent it, they just kind of ran out of the building because they weren't brave enough to face them. The third one is just saying something nice, being a bit neutral, saying, oh, you can contact me, you can keep in touch, here's my email, here's my Facebook, here's my this, here's my that. I actually sent a goodbye email myself. Mine was a little bit neutral because if I don't like something, I tend to speak on it. I tend to say it right then and there. I don't really build it up for months while I'm in the job and say it when I'm about to leave. So I think everything that I didn't like, obviously I would have said already, but not in your face, I want to fight you way, but more like just like talk to my manager or whatever, the usual. On a different note, the Beast from the East in March. This was a little bit of snow. It wasn't a little bit, it was a lot of snow, but it wasn't the craziest amount of snow man has ever seen. But we never really get that kind of level of snow in Ireland. So there was a bread crisis. There was a little crisis. There was no school and no work, which everyone absolutely loved. Basically what happened in Ireland is it snowed. And we don't really have equipment like they would in other cities where it snows regularly to clear out the snow. So people went to shops, buying as much bread as they could. There were videos that people were taking where in the morning you would get a trolley full of bread being ready to be stacked in the shelves. And before the bread would be stacked, people would just rush to grab it. It was funny. In a place in Ireland called Tallaght in Dublin, people broke into Lidl and just raided it, stole some food, stole a bunch of stuff, and when everything they wanted was gone, I guess they got one of those, is it a digger? You go, it's those machines you drive. I'm not a builder. I don't want to look the name of this thing up. I don't want to look it up. I don't want to see what it's called, but it's a machine. I'll put a picture of what it is. It's a machine you drive and you use to dig. So I guess it's a digger or something. But they wanted to get the save out from Lidl, so they crashed that thing into the roof, and oh man, it wasn't good news. I felt bad for the people who lived around that area because they pretty much decided to close down that Lidl, and people would have, who were working there, would have had to relocate for their work. Well, not relocate houses, but would have to work in a different store. I think people who were working there were moved to a different store, but that means if they live in close and they have that convenience of going somewhere close to work, they lose that convenience. Some people may not have cars to get there, or the commute may be hell in the morning, so they have to get used to a new routine. And people who are used to shopping there, who could maybe just walk there and shop there, they won't have the opportunity anymore. So those are the people I really felt bad for about this. Okay, so April, all I remember about April really was some memes. I remember 4 memes that I like. There's this comedian with the afro shooting his friend in the back. Those memes are pretty funny. They were pretty good. We got a lovely gift. We got a wonderful present from Marvel. Avengers Infinity War was meant to come out in May, but they pushed it up to April, so that was amazing. I went to see it, of course. I absolutely loved it. It was great. The next one is coming out not too far from now, so I'm excited about it, but it was a really good movie. Then we got the jewel of Mark Zuckerberg in courtroom explaining the internet to old people. It's you got a bunch of congressmen or senators, or I think they were senators. Yeah, they were senators, because every time Mark would answer a question, he would say, Senator. So it basically went like this. A senator goes, hey, Mark, if the internet exists, does that mean that you're spying on people? Senator, it is possible to spy on people with the internet theoretically, but I'm not. No, 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 no. If the internet exists, are you spying on people? Senator, your question doesn't make sense. Thank you. It was painful to watch it at times. But it happened. May. What happened in May? This is America. Don't catch you slipping up. This is America. This is America. There's nothing to say about it. I'm gonna be like Childish Gambino on this one. I'm not gonna say anything about it. It's just you just watch it and you're like, huh. This is America. Is this America? This is one of those memes I don't really want to explain. It's just you either get it or you don't. What happened in June? I'm sure a lot of things happened, but I can't remember any. What happened in August? What happened in July? France won the World Cup. I was so excited about that. I was supporting them. I don't remember any World Cup songs. Like I remember from the 2006 World Cup, we had Shakira. Shakira had a big hit. Remember, this is over 10 years ago. It was so big. It was so huge. Or was it? Then we had the 2010 World Cup. What was the big song? I think this guy. When I get older, I will be stronger. They call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag. Yeah, that was like. So I remember these songs, but from last year, 2018, I remember nothing at all. Like, did anyone bring out any songs? Then we move on to August. I like to start off with just having a moment of silence for Robbie Rotten. I know this may sound a little bit like I'm making a joke, but he was actually really, really funny, and the memes that came from this actor were absolutely amazing. I like goofy things sometimes, so I really loved memes about Robbie Rotten because he was so animated. He was this big, long, lanky, animated guy. Robbie Rotten is a character from Lazy Town. I can't remember the actor's name. I think it's either Swedish or Norwegian or Finnish or somewhere Nordic, and I've tried to pronounce it before, but I haven't done it successfully. But he died in August last year, and I used to watch Lazy Town even when I was a teenager. When I would be sick home from school, I would watch it because it was just fun and colorful. I like colorful things. I think a lot of people, even though they don't want to admit it, watch a kids show. August was actually a year of a lot of memes, like a lot of memes. Some of my favorite memes, actually the second half of 2018, I think had the stronger memes. We got the Yes Papa meme. Back in February, we had the whole KSI versus Joe Weller. KSI called out Logan Paul, and throughout the year they had been building up to the fight. I don't really want to put too much information about that because I feel like then it'll just dominate the video too much. But basically, Logan Paul had accepted the fight throughout the year. They've been trash talking each other, and the fight happened in August. Before the fight, though, I think, in my opinion, this is the best YouTube music ever. And when I say YouTube music, I mean something that isn't mainstream. He brought out his track On Point. Now, when I listened to it at first and I compared it to some of the best rappers, he's not as good as them. And in a lot of cases, he's not half as good as them. But when I actually compare KSI's rapping to a lot of current rappers, I'm like, actually, his flow is better. If you can get past the British accent, if you're not used to listening to British rap or grime or anything like that, his articulation is better. I think KSI is actually a decent rapper compared So a lot of the shit we get these days, I'm not gonna go into how rap has changed or whatever, but I actually feel his music, because what I did was, while I was sort of criticizing him, I just compared his music, his rapping skills, to a lot of stuff I hear today. And although the production isn't as masterfully crafted as a lot of his other raps, but I think his actual rapping talent is a lot better than what we see today. But not only that, the video is a masterpiece. Like, not even for a YouTuber or anything, it's a masterpiece. He capitalized on his beef with Logan, no matter how real or fake that was. He capitalized on it. He used it into the story, into the rap, into the visuals, but it was beautifully shot, beautifully done, and it wasn't overdone in the sense of too much graphics. I mean, there was some CGI at the end of it. I don't know if to call it CGI, but there was some animation, but most of it was just acting. KSI would actually make, I think, to some degree, a decent actor. I believe there's different types of acting. There's acting where you just use body language and facial expressions. I think for a sort of dramatic villain, KSI would do a decent job. I was actually very, very impressed with that, and as an artistic person, I think that's probably my favorite thing to have come out of the whole KSI Joe Weller Logan fight. I think KSI in a way pushed the boundaries of creativity as far as visual goes. And KSI's trainer Vidal as well, got an opportunity to showcase himself. And I'm kind of following Vidal now. I'm kind of following him. He's a really interesting guy. He's down to earth. He's mainly a boxer. And the reason why I'm kind of following Vidal, because he's someone who's acquired talent outside of coming into YouTube. And this isn't to poke fun at anyone who's doing YouTube, but sometimes a lot of people who come on YouTube haven't really trained in anything. They haven't really practiced, let's say, music theory, if it's music they're trying to do, or they haven't really practiced presenting or any sort of camera framework. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you can kind of see that when some people start up on YouTube, they don't really have anything solid in a lot of cases. But Vidal, he's actually a trained boxer. He's been training for a long time. So this is someone who's actually sort of mastered the craft and trying to use YouTube to boost it, which I really love. If he becomes Anthony Joshua level, Floyd Mayweather level of famous, like let's say 15, 20 plus fights that he's won straight, and he's also big on YouTube, I think he would be one of the first people to have sort of been good at something without starting on YouTube. I know a bunch of YouTube musicians who actually properly learned how to sing, how to play guitar, how to compose, and using YouTube as a platform as well. But I think from a boxing point of view, where you sort of feel like athleticism is a strict sort of outside YouTube media thing, you don't really see football players making YouTube channels. I think Vidal, who isn't necessarily a big boxer, but he has trained for it most of his life, and is coming to YouTube to blow up. So I'm excited to see how well he does, and I wish him the very best. Hey, quick update. So I'm editing the video right now. I shot this in February and it's currently March, and I still haven't finished editing it because there's just so many things to put in, pictures, videos, whatever, and it's taking way too long. I want to move into other videos, so I'm gonna skip the rest of the year and end the video here. Yeah. If I do have a point to this video, would be I hope you go after what you want to go after. I hope you achieve what you want to achieve. I hope 2019 goes amazing for you. I believe in your ability to pursue what you want to pursue, and stay confident. See ya.